You've got red in your ledger, and there's only one way to clear it. Working your way through endless waves of AIM's henchmen one by one until your debts are paid. I don't know if anyone's told you, but Black Widow is easily one of the strongest characters in Marvel's Avengers. You've just got to know how to play her.
I'm almost done. Hang in there.
This might hurt.
If you don't already have the perfect Widow build, stick around, because before this video's over, you're going to know what gear you need to find and what skills you need to use in order to become the Red Room's greatest assassin. Before I do that though, I do have to do the normal YouTube thing and say, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for even more videos, and check out the description below for links to my Twitch and my Twitter, which are the other platforms where I make content. Doing any of those things are completely free and incredibly helpful, and they help me make even more content and help people see the content that I make, so thank you. Now let's talk Black Widow. I've noticed lately that if I'm playing her on stream, people will pop up into chat and seem surprised that she can do so much damage.
For the AIM database. And we have located the clone on the top floor. Watch out. I think it might be expecting him.
Even a good Black Widow build does a ton of damage, so let me tell you how you can make your Black Widow build even better. Here's a quick moment of honesty. I actually came by this build pretty much by accident. A key piece of gear that we'll talk about in a minute dropped from the Red Room event for my Black Widow, and after that piece of gear, the rest of the build just fell into place. Let me show you what it looks like when the build's working for you.
Maybe that'll draw Maestro out of hiding. That was a good one.
Here's how the combat should flow. When you enter a fight, you're going to go invisible first with Veil of Shadows. Then you're going to use Power Surge to boost all of your damage, and from there, you're going to use High Caliber Shot, normally the charged power attack version, and Widow's Bite to kill everything. A quick note, that order is actually important. You want to do Veil of Shadows and then Power Surge. There's a skill I'm going to show you in a minute that should mean every enemy you defeat while in Veil of Shadows grants a heroic orb. So if you go invisible first, then use Power Surge, the damage wave from just activating your ultimate might give you some orbs immediately. So what's it take to get there? We'll start with the skills. For Veil of Shadows, choose Shadow Gift so enemies defeated while it's active have a chance of dropping heroic orbs, and choose Mortal Cloak to increase the critical attack chance while in Veil of Shadows. For Shadow Gifts, by the way, it says that it has a 35% chance of dropping a heroic orb with every enemy defeated, but when you use it, it feels more like every enemy defeated drops a heroic orb. Whether it just feels like that, or if the skill is doing something that it doesn't say, I can't really be sure. But either way, it is a must for this build, so make sure you choose it. For Widow's Bite, choose Taser Dart so projectiles stick to enemies and deal shock damage, and choose Lethal Bite for an additional charge of Widow's Bite. For Power Surge, you want to choose Galvanic Bite so Widow's Bite does more damage while in Power Surge, and Power Grid to extend the duration of Power Surge by 4 seconds. Quick fun fact about Power Surge. Did you know that it stacks? If you get enough orbs to refill your ultimate heroic meter while Power Surge is still active, you can actually put another stack of Power Surge on top of the current one you have. And then if you get enough orbs again, you can do it again. That should mean every time it stacks, you're doing more damage than you were before. Now for mastery skills. Here's what I choose. Overcharge range to increase range attack damage while overcharged. Headshot charge to boost intrinsic energy from headshots. and Heroic Overcharge to increase the rate at which heroic energy recharges while overcharged. Cluster Grenade to give 3 grenades instead of 1. Voltaic Grenades for shock damage on your grenades. And Recoil Compensator to reduce shot recoil. Invisible Ranged for increased range attack damage while invisible. Extended Invisibility to extend Veil of Shadows by 2 seconds. And Critical Damage to increase critical attack damage while invisible. Heroic Takedown Mastery to get a Heroic Orb from takedowns. Critical Headshots to increase critical attack damage from headshots by 20%. And Melee Charge to get more heroic meter energy from light and heavy attacks. A couple of those skills aren't going to be very useful for you if you're playing my way, but I couldn't really find anything better in those mastery columns. If you do happen to find something better, please let me know so I can update this video. My usual recommendations apply for your champion points, by the way. Focus on crit chance, perk chance, crit damage, and stun and status damage. Fun little aside for you before we get into the gear. When I make these builds, I do my best to not recommend something like a full set of the Storm gear, because I know just how difficult it is to get those pieces. Of course, if you find an amazing piece of Tachyon Storm gear to round out a set that I show you, use it. There's nothing wrong with that. What I always try to do is show you that you don't need all of those pieces of gear to do a lot of damage or to support your whole team. Because, like I said, I know that those pieces can be hard to get. For now, let's talk about the gear that I'm using and what I recommend. In slot 1, you're looking for Stealth Breaker on perk 3, which gives increased damage while invisibility is active. On slot 2, you want Targeted Buff on perk 1, and High Caliber deals plasma damage on perk 2. Slot 3, look for Taking Damage grants a damage buff in perk 1, and damage reduction while aiming in perk 3. Slot 4, the best of the best is Red Room Coil. It increases the duration of your invisibility, adds even more damage while invisible, and gives you guaranteed chance of hitting a critical attack when you're behind an enemy and invisible. Plus, it can roll Valor, Precision, and Resolve. Now, the good news, or maybe the bad news, is that most of this gear you can get from anywhere. Slots 1, 2, and 3 can drop from any mission, any chest, any enemy. So, if you want them, all you have to do is play the game. Slot 4, the Red Room Coil, drops specifically from Last Avenger Standing. So if you want that piece as your slot 4, you're going to have to grind for it. But the rest of them, like I said, can drop from anywhere. So open chest, fight enemies, just make sure you're getting gear as often as you can, and you should get these pieces or something like it soon. Stats you want to focus on might be obvious, but they are Precision and Valor with enough Resolve to stay alive and enough Proficiency to make sure your perks are proccing and make sure you're hitting crits. For minor artifacts, you probably want a full Precision ISO and a full Valor ISO, both with perks that say Increased Charge Rate of Support Heroic. If you want, you can sub one or both of these in for a Cosmic ISO, especially if the stats are good, because they're going to recharge your health and heroics. The major artifact I'm using is the Norn Stone of Lethal Will, and let's take a second and talk about why. Some people on this build would use the ring because with the ring, you would get your heroics back faster. And I agree, I think it's a good way to go. But this is why I use the Norn Stone anyway. First of all, damage buff is one of the strongest buffs in the game, hands down. I try not to make it the focus of every single one of my builds, but there's no denying that really nothing is as good as the damage buff. Second of all, I find that if I'm using my heroics properly, I don't even really need the ring. Shadow Gifts, which is that specialty skill that gives you heroic orbs for enemies defeated while in Veil of Shadows, gives out so many orbs that if I'm not getting my heroics back right away, I probably am not defeating enough enemies, or kills are being stolen, or I've been using my heroics only around large enemies with no ads. So that's a little bit of a reconfiguration for how I'm playing, rather than changing my artifact to the ring. It's honestly as simple as that. Once you've got this build put together, you're going to find yourself speeding through missions almost as fast as that Thor build I showed you. I hope you enjoy, and don't forget to check out my other videos for more builds, more Marvel games, and soon, even more. Thanks for watching.